Good morning, you guys. It is January 25th, and we are getting ready to go on our next chapter support group and give them a training on mediation part 2. But we thought we would come on beforehand and just let you guys know what we were doing this week. This week, we gave a training on mediation. What was last week's? Was last week's the NARC training?
Yeah, the second part of the NARC training. Yeah. And then there was a lot of questions after the mediation one. So we're going to dive into everybody's questions. We do like a Q&A in there, which is nice because they get to ask us anything.
Yeah, so we'll dive into that. But we had I did a TikTok earlier this week on dating. And so we thought it would be good to kind of come on and talk about dating. So if you're watching this, let us know in the comment section, have you started dating since your divorce? And maybe you're not all the way divorced and maybe you think you have to wait, and we'll probably talk about that here in a little bit. But have you started dating and has it gone well? So let us know. Let us know in the comment section. I'm over here on TikTok. I think you're on your TikTok as well at the same time. So good morning, TikTok. We're going to focus our attention over to our main screens, which is all of our support groups, which are available in our links that you guys can jump into those support groups. But
yeah, all right, so if you want to like see Sam and I both at the same time.
What are some things you're going to cover? What the red flags when starting to date?
Yeah, there's some red flags when you're in a relationship. And so let me look at my notes because I don't want to forget it. Okay. And let me know, you guys, let us know if you've noticed these and then you're like struggling with this with somebody, or you noticed these and you were like, done, I'm out. Because that's one thing I will say, that like after my divorce, I wasn't fucking around. Like I had higher standards. I knew my deal breakers. And if people were just not on board with what I was looking for, thank you, next. So the first one, which is a huge one, is if they are showing lack of respect for your boundaries. Like if they're consistently disregarding your feelings, your personal space, that's a red flag. Like that's a huge sign for me. Respect for boundaries includes not pressuring you into activities or situations that you're not comfortable with. Have you ever been with somebody who does shit like that?
Oh yeah, like somebody that made me feel like everything I wanted to do or think was not important. And it was that chameleon phase, when I was in the chameleon phase, where I would just like mold myself into whoever I was dating because I didn't know who I was yet. And then there'd be glimmers of me like, I really don't want to do this, but yet I've said yes 9 other times. So I feel like I have to say yes this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I was doing that chameleon thing forever. And it's because I just didn't have my own identity. I didn't know really who I was, and I didn't like stand strong in my truth. So like if I was dating somebody who loved riding motorcycles, then all of a sudden I was wearing all black and like listening to certain music and like, and I did that all the time. So, all right. So that's the first one. Let me know if you guys can relate to that. Second one, what?
I remember dating a guy that was into Shinedown, and he always listened to Shinedown whenever he was getting ready in the morning. And then I just like became obsessed with the music, which I'm going to say I like their music, but I had never heard of them one iota before I dated him. And then I just became obsessed, and that's like all I listened to. And I was a grown ass adult when I went through that phase. And it was just like, now looking back on it, I think I was trying to like the same things he liked.
Yeah.
And I was too afraid to be like, I've never heard of this band and I don't know who they are. And I'm not, like, exactly. I don't know. I never said what I meant. I never had my own feelings for many years. I had just like chameleoned into whoever I was dating.
Yeah. And it's so nice because now we're both in relationships where we can just really truly just be who we are, and we don't have to like the same kind of shit.
Oh
like,
God.
My husband definitely has hobbies that like I don't give a fuck about, and so he can go do him and like do his happy things. And I'm not into it. It's fine, and vice versa.
And I think even like beliefs, we Jared and I just got into we always argue about flat earth or round earth. And then we get into the moon landing, and last night we got into flights and like, why do some flights go up, which goes into the flat earth, round earth conversation. And so I saw TikTok last night. He said something, I said something, and we differ on that. Like we both have a difference of opinion on that subject. And I won't tell you which way each one of us falls, but it's kind of and I'm not willing to comply to what he believes, and he's not willing, where the old me would have. I would have been like, "Oh, okay, you believe this, I believe this." And I wouldn't have ever said anything. And now we can come together and mutually disagree about this certain subject, the moon landing, and we're fine. And where before I would have never spoke up. I would have
Right.
never said my opinion
And I
ever.
think it's so important to learn what things it's okay to be on different pages
Mhm.
about and what things are just not gonna work if you're on different pages. Because that
Yeah.
was a big lesson for me too. In my first marriage, I was like, he's Catholic. I'm not religious. It's fine. It'll be fine. Like he believes what he believes, and I believe it. And then
Well,
no, it wasn't fine. It didn't work out.
we have a group coaching client who her husband's Muslim and she doesn't practice
Right.
anything. And so I think she didn't think it would be that big a deal like you when they were married. And
Yeah.
now that they're separating, he's trying to get her to conform to, the food, the dietary restrictions and stuff like that in her home. And she's like, "Look, I'm not Muslim.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to
Especially when you have
follow."
kids, that's when that shit becomes a
Mhm.
problem. Because
Right.
I think with my first husband, like, we kinda made it work. It didn't really matter. I just didn't go to church and didn't do the church things. But then when you have a kid, there's some big decisions then that had to be made, right? And then when these
Right.
things were coming up, I was pissed. We just weren't on the same page, and that was just one thing, and there was many,
Yeah.
many problems, but,
Yeah.
and money.
Oh.
Lord, money. If you are
Mhm.
not on the same page with the person you're in a relationship with, or like a long term or in a marriage with money, like how you spend it, how you save it, how you invest it,
Mhm.
it's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
huge problem. If they have like a shitload of debt because they suck at money and they have all these credit cards, it's like there was so many times I was in a relationship where I felt like I was the only responsible one. I was
Yeah.
like the mom who was like, "You can't be spending money on this. Like, we still owe money over here, And
Yeah.
it was such a struggle. It was like this tug of war back and forth. And
Mhm.
I would never do that again. I told myself, never, never, never do that again. And luckily now, yeah, he's like the best. He's better than I am with money. He's got his
Yeah.
fucking spreadsheets and his whatever, and he's really good at it. And so I love it. I'm so grateful and appreciative because I've been on the other side where it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
The money conversation is huge, and I don't know what step you have that conversation when you're dating, but it needs to be, I would think, somewhat early. I'm all for
yeah,
figuring shit out before you get emotions attached, but you
totally.
really gotta figure out, like, "Hey, do you keep track of your budget?" You don't need to ask somebody how much you got in your 401k, but I wanna know, do you even have a 401k? Or if we get together, am I, thrifting through your retirement and covering you because you haven't invested in your own self?
These are
So
things you need to know if you're going to
Mhm.
merge with somebody. What's your
Yeah,
credit score? How much debt do you have? Like those are going to have a direct impact on you and your
yeah.
life and your money.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those are all questions that definitely you want to ask early on. We were like, yeah, I did everything different, very different after my divorce. Like when I was dating David, we asked all the hard questions. Like we would just go back and forth and like ask each other questions because why waste time? Like in our late
Yeah.
30s, I'm not fucking around. Like I'm looking
Yeah.
to find somebody who's in alignment with me and where I want to go and who I want to be. And
Yeah.
okay, let me pull up the next one. Okay, second one, huge red flag. Any type of controlling behavior. If your
Mm,
partner tries to control who you see, what you do, what you wear, that is a big sign that it's probably going to escalate. If that shit's starting, especially early on, it's only going to get worse.
yeah.
It's not going to get better.
Yeah. I mean, and again, when you're young and naive or just not in a good place, it might come across as flattery. Like, "Oh, look, this person's really trying to protect me. Oh, look, this person has, they really don't, they're looking out for my well-being." And it's like,
Mhm.
really ask yourself, that first time that they get angry with you doing something and they put you in your place, tell you to not do something again and try to control the situation, it's not flattering. It's
Yeah.
it's really deep down an insecurity on their parts. They feel like they have to control you to keep you, because they aren't good enough to keep you, so they try to control you.
And that
And when
happened with you, right? And then you got super
oh,
isolated.
oh my gosh, looking back on myself, and I saw a TikTok yesterday. There's this woman that's been doing TikToks lately. She's on my feed like crazy, and she's saying all these like really good one-liners. And she's like, when you're finally healed, you won't even recognize the person you were before. And like being
Yeah.
the person I am now, I don't recognize who was I at 24 going on a motorcycle ride with this guy and just like I'm even trying to remember the conversation. How did I get so wooed? Like he had a motorcycle, he had a house, a little ranch, he had a little son. I mean, he was okay attract I mean, he was attractive. I mean, he wasn't like, "Oh my god," but he was like, "Oh, he's decent." Um, I don't know, like, I can't even think of what the fuck did this man say
Mhm.
all those years ago to get me to be like, "Let me change my whole life. Let me move in with you. Let me marry you in 60 days. Let me get knocked up by you within 60 days after that." He's not good with words. So I'm like, "What what was I doing?" And I really think for me, it was like I got charmed in the whole, like, a good man. I remember him saying stuff like, because I was seeing somebody when I met him, and I was actually engaged to somebody else, and I didn't want to be engaged to that person at all. But again, I didn't have any ability to say no. And because I was just so wherever I was in life. But I remember him saying stuff like, a good man would do this, a good man would provide for you, a good man would give you this, a good man wouldn't let you, go out and make a fool of yourself drinking the way you do. Like he always like acted older than me, and he's only 3 years older than me. He's not like he's fucking ancient. But I just being so like just 24 and being like, oh my gosh, this man is telling me that he could take care of me and all this stuff. And then, okay, fast forward, he has a shit ton of debt, doesn't have custody of his child, and here I am like, I can help him.
Mhm.
I can,
I can fix him.
I
I can
can,
love him enough. I know.
here
Yeah,
I am.
I like Facebook memories is a wild ride. Some of the
Yeah.
shit that pops up, pictures or things that I used to post, like things that I used to talk about. I'm just like, I'm so far removed from that
Mhm.
person. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But the
Um,
controlling behavior, if it starts early, it's going to just get worse. It doesn't go away. Doesn't go away.
Number 3, big one, huge red flag, dishonesty.
Mm.
Trust is a foundation in any relationship. So
Mhm.
if you're whoever you're dating, if you're catching them lying early in the relationship, I think that is a sign that there's probably going to be patterns of
But you gotta look for it too, like, there's so many women and maybe men, probably more men than women, that don't do background checks. Check
oh,
check this shit out. Like, check it out. Make sure you are, like, doing a deep dive, and
mhm.
really like, you all have one girlfriend that knows how to do this shit. Like, take the time to look, what does their divorce decree really say versus what they're saying? You can look up to see who has custody and all that kind of stuff. It's public access information. Look to see if they've been married before. Look to see if they have a criminal record.
Mhm.
Like, at least the superficial stuff like that, if you can at least get a clear slate on that, okay, now we can go somewhere. But man, so many people are just taking word value. I'm not.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean,
That's
I've
why
known Jared my whole life, so
it's
I
a
lucked out there. Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge lesson that I learned was that people have to earn my trust. Like they don't just get and it's not
Uh-huh.
that I'm jaded, it's that I fucking learned my lesson. Like I'm
Well,
smarter now, right? Like
plus you have a
I don't
kid.
just trust you off the bat. I don't know who you are. You have to earn that from me.
You have a kid that we have to protect. I can't be bringing in somebody that's a pedo 10 years
Right.
ago or somebody that has a criminal background of battery charges. Like, you
Yeah.
need to be doing a deep dive into making sure and ask around. I mean, if I, again, reflect back to my first marriage, I was on a walk with a girlfriend and she said, "Look, I've asked around and there is nothing good being said about him or his family. Like, there's drama there. There is childhood issues there." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I
He's
will fix
just
him."
misunderstood.
Yeah, you don't know the truth. Here,
Yeah.
he told me. Let me tell you what he said. He knows
Yeah.
the truth. I mean, girlfriends literally were pulling me aside, being like, "Hey, I don't want to tell you what to do, but moving in with him is the wrong thing to do." And I'm like, "But I'm in love after 26 days."
Yeah.
So dumb. So dumb.
Beth loves your new wallpaper. I know. Isn't it super cute? She's out of the dungeon. She moved up from the basement.
I have a window, you
Out the
guys.
window.
This wallpaper, what we figured out to be $70
Yes.
for an 11-foot by 8-foot wall.
Yeah.
So it's just that wall. It's from
Okay.
Amazon. It's
Peel
from
and
Amazon.
stick.
Peel
Yeah.
and stick, man. Jared and Josie did it for me the other night, and they had a good bonding relationship. There's a laughter coming from the room when they were doing it. So yeah, they did the wallpaper, and Jared painted the whole room. So good to go.
Yes. Okay. Next one, avoidance of communication. If your partner avoids discussing issues, feelings, or plans for the future, it can be a red flag. Totally. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Mm-hmm.
be open to communication about talking about everything, because if you're not,
Yeah.
that's going to be a huge issue. You're going to
Yeah.
constantly run into roadblocks. So, yeah, if somebody's super like secretive or doesn't like to, and I'm not saying the first fucking day you meet somebody, they need to like open up and bear it all,
Oh
but
yeah.
you need
Here's
to be able to communicate and share your feelings and have them want to listen, right? Be
yeah.
respectful. They want you to feel seen and heard and understood, and then vice versa. Like communication, it's like another pillar. Just like trust that if that's not there, what are you doing? Where
And
can we go
yeah,
from there?
like understanding what type of communicator you are.
Yeah.
So, like when Jared and I first got together, it was a healthy relationship, but we just had different styles. I am really abrasive, straight to the point. I want to get it over with. And Jared is like, let me sit back and think. Let me sit back. He shuts down and gets quiet because his first initial response is probably not safe to say. And he knows that about himself. So he shuts down, where I'm the aggressor, like, no, let's talk it out. Let's get it over with. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm still on the first paragraph and you have finished the book already. Like he needs to take his time and really
Process
think
it.
about how he process and what he wants to say. And I didn't respect that at the beginning. I thought, you need to come to my level of communication. And then when he did, and he tried to keep up with me, he was right. The shit that came out of his mouth was not appropriate. And it was like, okay, if I don't want to get hurt, then I can't push him. He does need to process. And so respecting that that's how we communicated, where before, oh my gosh, in my marriage and other relationships, those men didn't know how to pause. They didn't know how to process. They just wah
Screaming.
wah.
I was
Yeah.
screaming. We scream at each other and say,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Say
And then
things
it
can
never
take that.
really would get anywhere anyway. You don't
Oh
like,
no. And then it's the whole like, don't talk for 2 days, which is unhealthy. And then,
or I'm going to do this out of spite. I'm going to do
yeah,
this
and then you
off.
have one person that always apologizes and the other person never does, and just to apologize to move it forward, even though you really don't mean the apology, you just want the
Yeah.
fighting to
Get
stop.
over with. Yeah.
Yeah, and then does anything come resolved of that? No, and the same thing happens the next month and the
Like
next
Groundhog
month,
Day.
and yeah, and then you're just like, God, I'm always the one apologizing, and the other person knows that you are, so they just sit back and wait for the apology to come. I mean, it's just a cycle, and
Mhm.
so when you finally get with somebody that you can come together. And so like if we haven't fought in so long, it's ridiculous. But back when we used to, probably when I was pregnant a lot, we fought. And we would do so good at like we would fight, it would be over. And then when we got in a good place, like 2 or 3 days later, when everything was back to chill, we would talk about how we didn't communicate well or where the breakdown was, or hey, next time this happens, understand when I walk away and I'm 8 months pregnant that I'm probably hungry,
Yeah.
and like don't take it personally. Like I said shit I don't mean. And so then we always like recapped the fight and like how we could probably avoid it for next time. I had never done that in another relationship. It was
Right.
just like bury it, step over it, and never talk about it again.
Yeah. And if you bring it up, it's why are you bringing this up again? I thought we were over this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, totally.
Let's see. Next one. Inconsistent behavior. So this could possibly be a red flag. If your partner's behavior or moods fluctuate wildly and unpredictably, that could be a sign of some instability. So that's something you obviously have to kind of gauge for yourself. I mean, some of us are
Mhm.
just hormonal, so you
Yeah.
can get a little fiery at certain times of the month and so on and so forth. But I think it is like one thing I've noticed that particularly in the narcissists that I've been in relationships with is they would be a completely different person with me and then a different person on Facebook and then a different person at their parents' house, right?
Uh-huh.
And then when we're at with their friend, it's like they weren't genuine.
Preach. Uh-huh.
They were just putting on these different masks and behaving. It's like this inconsistent behavior where it was
Yeah.
like I'm just me for everybody, like whoever I'm with, it's still the same Leah. You're not going to get anybody,
Uh-huh.
and so that was something that I noticed definitely as a pattern with the people who had those narcissistic tendencies. Is it's just like who are you? Oh, we're at
Yeah.
your dad's house. That's who this version of you is.
I loved my ex-husband, was so good he was a volunteer fireman in a small town that we lived in. And anytime we were up at the fire station for, whether it be a fireman event or, community thing, the kids were on his hip. Like he had one on the hip. He was taking the other one to the bathroom. Like he was doing it all, because this is who he is. I can manage everything. I can work, 40 hours a week, be a volunteer fireman, and then I do everything at the house. And I would just sit back like, are you serious?
Mhm.
Like I can't even get you to do a bath at home, but here you're acting like it was always a public appearance. He was father of the fucking year. But behind at home, he was asshole of the year, and it was just this different person where I thought I was pretty consistently the same person. I mean, I don't know how somebody can how you can pretend knowing I know the truth. Like,
well, I think that's the thing is that they're always pretending, right? A narcissist literally lives in their own world that they created. It's like not real life. And so they believe their own crazy shit. So they don't even think about, they're not self-aware enough to think like that this person might recognize that I'm being different. It's just, it's wild.
And I think that was that trait right there of the inconsistencies of who you are is where kids go, wait a second, at home, you're this. Then when we get around in public, you're like this fake person. And then when we're around our other parent and you're completely different. Like, I think that's where the kids start to be like, wait a second. You like, especially when they say stuff out in public, when that high conflict parent starts running their mouth. Oh yeah, I did this with the kids, this with the kids. And the kids are sitting there going, bullshit.
Right.
You were not the one that did that. You were not the one that took me there. And like,
yeah, that's
where they don't understand. Kids are taking notes. Kids are fucking sponges, and kids can start calling bullshit at a very young age of like, no, that's not the way that fucking happened. And you were not the parent that did that. My other parent was. So I think that's where they're dumb, and they just don't realize that kids are smart at super young ages. Kids can pick up on bullshit.
It's so true. Or like taking credit for things that they did.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter hit a home run one time, and my ex-husband was like, right to her face. He's like, I'm the reason you hit that. I'm the one that takes you to batting practice. She's like, you took me to 3. Like, mom's taken me for the past 18 weeks. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was just stuff like that she was just like, you're talking out of your ass. And I'm pretty sure I'm the one that swung the bat. Like, you didn't do anything to that home run, So it was stuff like that she was just like, he takes credit for everything I do, that she didn't. She got sick of it. So what's another one?
Next one, negativity or criticism. Constant criticism, even if it's subtle, can be a form of emotional abuse. It's healthy to give and receive constructive criticism in a relationship, but not if it's constant and degrading. Yeah.
We talked about this last night or yesterday with the two group coaching clients yesterday. Yeah. Remember how I said, you could say something like, hey, are you going on the field trip? And they're like,
well, what the fuck? You think I don't know how to do this? Is it my first rodeo?
Yeah. You think I wouldn't go on the field trip? You think I'd pick work over our kid? And you're like,
I've like anything you say, it'll turn into somehow it's offensive.
Like you could say something like, when I was married, I could be like, hey, do you really want to go to this? And he'd be like, so you don't want me to go? No, I know you hate everybody I work with. So why the fuck would you want to come to a work function? So I'm trying to give you a way out of it. But now I have to kiss your ass and make you feel like you're whole again. Like it was always an exhausting cycle of let me build you up just so you can tear me down 5 seconds later. And it was just, and I was on that train for too long to where I became numb to it. I think at the end of like, okay, well, this is where I have to say these 3 sentences to make sure that he feels good about himself and that I'm not going to leave him. It was fucking ridiculous. Looking back on it again now, my healed self, looking back to my old self, I'm just like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like who was that girl that married that guy? Who was that?
Yeah, I've definitely been in relationships where in the beginning they were criticizing me, and I don't know, I guess I like brushed it off. I was with this one guy who was like, you aren't feminine enough. Like I want you to wear nail polish every day. And like things like that. And like, I don't, the music you listen to sucks. You should listen to this kind of music.
But they start though in a complimentary way, like, cause I smoke and drink whenever he met me. So he's like, you're just too pretty to be smoking like that. Like, it's just not attractive. You'd be so much prettier if you'd stop smoking. So it was like a compliment, but not a compliment to where I was like, I should quit smoking. And then it's like, you're drinking. I'm really worried that some guy's going to take advantage of you with all this drinking that you're doing and going out by yourself. Maybe you should stay home with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, he wants me to stay home with him.
Right. I
Like,
know.
and it's like, all he was doing was isolating me away from everybody that I fucking knew and went out with and had a good time with and was friend. I was 20 fucking 4. I was a first year teacher, a second year teacher. And it was like, I was such an idiot. But what I heard was compliment.
Yeah. And probably insecure. Like if you don't really know who you are, I think that's part of this whole thing is if you're comfortable with yourself, if you really just like yourself and you're good, you're comfortable, you accept yourself, then you'll notice those red flags a lot faster. Because then if someone starts saying things like that to you, you'll be like, no, I'm good with my fucking nail polish. Like I'm good with the music I listen to. I'm good with how much I drink or don't drink. And so if you are okay with you, you'll notice when someone else is trying to change you and you'll pick that up.
Well, I think that's what's so cool about Jared is he never once has never once tried to change me. He's never recommended, I think you should do this.
Mm-hmm.
Never. In 8 years, he's never given me a, you should probably put that donut down because your ass is getting huge. Like he's never ever given me a critique. Now, have I of him? Probably, but I have never heard anything of like, he liked who I was when he got with me and he didn't try to change me. Now we have changed as, we didn't have a lot of responsibilities when we got together. My kids were only there 50% of the time. Like we had a lot of freedom and then my kids came and lived with me full time. We had 2 more kids. We changed jobs. Like there's been a lot of changes in our relationship. But yeah, there was never an ill comment from him from the word go. And when you do find somebody like that just wholeheartedly loves who you are as you are, you're like, because I think the other side of that is I was at my best when I met him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was easy for him to fall in love with me because I was at my best. I didn't need fixing. I didn't need helping. I didn't need hand holding. I didn't need guiding. I was guiding myself perfectly fucking fine and doing a great job out of it. And I think that's why I was so attractive to him at being 5 years younger. I mean, he was like, holy shit, she's got a house, she's got 2 kids, she's got 2 jobs. Like, damn, she was attractive. I was walking around very confident. I wasn't drinking a lot when he met me. I just came off a kidney issue and I had my shit together. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
made it really,
secret. That's how you attract, the person that you really want. It's all you attract what you are. We dated the same level as our self-esteem.
Yeah.
Let me see what the next one is. Jealousy. That could be a red flag. So a small amount of jealousy, in relationships, that's normal. But when it becomes excessive, that can lead to like possessiveness or controlling behavior. So you have to like gauge this jealousy, like what, like if you're dating a guy and you have some male friends and that guy has some issues with those male friends, that to me is a red flag. It's like, no, these people were in my life before I met you. If you've got a problem, that's a you problem. Right. I'm not going to change who I have relationships with. So I think that's another thing you have to just gauge, but be mindful of.
Have you seen there's a guy on TikTok that says, any guy that's friends with a girl would date her. Like he really wants to date you. He's just being friends with you because
I don't think that's true.
That's where you put, I don't either. Like I've had 2 really good guy friends and I don't think that's their motive. I think they were both single dads and I was a single mom. And like, we were just trying to figure the fuck out how to survive at certain points in our friendships. But
I think it can happen. I think it can exist, but I don't think that's everybody. I think
Right. I do. Yeah. Cause he's like, I think his TikTok is to warn husbands that if your wife has guy friends, that guy friend wants to sleep with your wife, and
that guy is just a giant red flag. And so is his account.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had work husbands.
Right.
Always had a work husband. When I was a PE teacher, I'm paired up as the female, I'm paired up with the male PE teacher. And I have had 2 tremendously great work husbands. I've been so blessed to have those guys and still friends with them to this day. Like, because I hear about their marriage and their kids and they heard about mine. And it was just, those relationships were awesome.
Right. Awesome. And it's nice, like to have that kind of energy. I growing up, I think I always found it easier to be friends with guys than girls. Because, like, you know, man, in middle school, high school, girls are fucking tough. Like
Yeah.
the cliques and it can be
Not
rough.
nice.
And so I did. And so, like, a good example is last night, very male dominated. I went out to open mic with all my guy friends. I was singing some songs last night. It's like full of dudes, right? But they're older. I think most of them are probably like 20, 25 years older than me, but it's very male dominated. I was like I told David, hey, I think I want to go out to open mic. He's like, go on, go do your thing. So I went to it. And then tonight, all female, I'm going to this, it's called the Year Project, which is run by this like group, this like women's wellness group. And so we're going to sit down and do goal setting and vision boards and manifestation. And so, but heavy feminine energy tonight.
Can you record the whole thing and send it to me, please?
I'll have to take notes for you. I'll see you. Yeah. But it's like that balance is nice. It's nice to be able to, like, you know what, I'm going to go out and hang out with some dudes. And then tonight I'm like, I'm going to go out and hang out with some ladies. And so being in a relationship with someone who's like, okay, whatever, like go do you do your thing. It's just really nice.
Yeah, I do want to get a hold of my feminine energy a little bit more this year. I'm trying to focus on, you know, doing my hair more often and, you know, looking better when I go out with Jared instead of just like throwing on a sweatshirt, you know, like actually trying a little bit because I want to feel sexy. Not that I feel like he needs me to, but like I want to tap into that feminine energy. But yet, you know, I also love to just go to the gym and go, you know, play pickleball or go golf with a bunch of dudes and not.
Yeah, you're a sporty.
Yeah. Right. And not have that feminine vibe at all either. So yeah, I think I love what Matt said over here. He said, I agree with you, ladies. Sometimes guys just need emotional support that we can't get from other guys, you know, and my guy friend that I grew up with, he ended up having kids before I did. He struggled. He was a full-time single parent. He had his kids full-time and mom skirted. And he needed help sometimes because he didn't have all the answers being a dad, especially having a girl. I remember one time he sent his daughter down because we lived by each other. He sent her down and she knocked on the door. I said, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. Dad said I need to tell you what's wrong with me. And she needed girl stuff. And I was like, got you. You know, I'm like, next time, could you at least call me and give me a heads up that she's going to be like, I had no idea why she was there. But it was this, okay, now once I helped the daughter, then I had to call him and say, okay, here's how you help her. Here's how you talk to her. Here's how you help yourself, you know, stay in her life and don't piss her off. And using each other like that. And we were best of friends as single parents. He gave me really good advice but we grew up together and, you know, Jared has never been jealous of that relationship. We've done Thanksgivings together. We went and traveled to see him together. Like Jared's never been jealous of any of the past relationships that I've had. He's met a lot of the people that I've been with.
He's secure with himself, you know,
right.
He's in a healthy place with himself and that's good. Yeah. Right. You know, and you're right. Sometimes dudes have trouble opening up. And I think that's why our support group is growing so fast. That the one that's just for men, if you're men watching, it's called the Men's Divorce Circle and you can join it. Click the link in our bio. But it's growing so fast. And I think that's why is because some of these guys are in a place where they're like, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I want to ask questions. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm having a hard time with. And they're in this safe space where they can share and ask questions and lean on other guys who are in the same predicaments and dealing with the same kinds of situations. And so they feel, I think, more comfortable asking questions and sharing because it's a place where they feel less isolated.
Right. And we do group coaching for dads too. And we have a dad that he jumped on yesterday and he goes, you guys, I'm good. Like I'm in a good place. Nothing's really happened. And, you know, we can offer to stop group coaching. And he goes, nope, I'm going to keep coming and keep showing up because you never know when I'm going to need something. And I know that I always have you guys as backup if shit hits the fan. And I think for him to know that he has that support from two women, he's getting support and guidance on, you know, where's her head at? What does she mean by this? What is she thinking? What strategies? We're helping him with his daughter. We're helping him with his ex-wife. We're helping him with just him and having more confidence. He's had some revelations. He's been divorced a long time. And just knowing that he's trusting two women to help him through aspects of this divorce and co-parenting that he doesn't understand himself. And that he just wants, I think he's one that wants some validation that this isn't all on him, that he's not the only problem. And I think he's really enjoyed group coaching. But to see him come on yesterday and he was kind of like, I'm good. Like you guys have gotten me to a place where I'm good, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, thank you. I do love my new office. I'm so excited about being upstairs. This window, like I've never realized how much joy a window can bring you, even though I'm looking out to the Illinois weather, which is cloudy with a chance of just clouds. We are in our gray sky phase where we go like 90 days of gray skies and no sunlight. And it is,
same
and it's
here in Buffalo.
drab.
But I mean, that does have a huge impact on your mental health. I mean, they've done studies on like people who work in cubicles, you know, with the fluorescent lighting, and they're just stuck there all day, every day, and it really can impact how you feel. Like,
I was super excited to just be upstairs where everybody else is at. I mean, Jared's in the other room, and just to be like right by a bathroom. I don't have to walk all the way up the steps to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
There's been a couple close calls being down there. But
sometimes we're talking and I see you.
I'm like
literally like this. I'm like, go pee. Just go.
Do you know that I learned a trick? We were on a volleyball tournament or something. One of Josie's players' older sister gave the tip that if you ever have to pee in the car, tap your big toe. And I am telling you, if today, wait a little bit longer to where you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna pee my pants, and start tapping your big toe.
What do you mean tap your big toe? Like
just inside your foot, take your big toe, just your big toe, and just tap it inside your shoe. You can do it right now, just sitting there. If you tap your big toe, instantly your bladder, you don't even know your bladder's full.
Weird.
It is so fucking weird. So, but I don't know, we were in a tournament and I had to pee really bad. And she's like, tap your big toe. And I'm like, what? And as soon as I did, I'm like, oh my gosh. But you know what you can't do? Walk to the bathroom and tap your big toe. You can't do that at the same time. So you have to really prepare yourself.
You just gotta clench on the way there.
Yes, you just gotta. Well, and if you've had multiple kids and big heads like I have, you might as well just know you're peeing your pants. It's just, it is what it is. All right. Anything else we should cover? We should probably head over to the next chapter where we're going to be answering a boatload of questions about mediation. So we gave a mediation prep training the other day on Monday to them. And so today we're going to follow up and answer a lot of their questions about mediation. And I'll just tell you from my perspective of being a mediator myself, you guys have to be prepared. Like going into mediation, this is not something to fuck around with. You have to have an education.
And I didn't realize how often your attorney doesn't even prep you for what to expect. Yeah. It's like you literally could be walking in there blind, not having any idea what you're even about to talk about.
Yeah. Sarah, go to the link in our bio. How do you get into the next chapter? Link in bio, the next chapter, there's a button right there. You can get in there. Leah will let you in. The replays, there's replays sitting in there. I don't think we've deleted replays since October.
Yeah, we've had like trial prep and like nutrition. We had a nutrition coach come in and give some stuff. We have a couple of NARC trainings. We had the mediation prep, co-parenting, like do's and don'ts, getting like for dates and events throughout the year when you're co-parenting and with your kids' school schedules. And then on Monday, we're doing guilt and forgiveness, how to deal with that, process it.
That's going to be good. Yeah. I think that's going to hit home for a lot of people. The mom guilt of, do I date? Do I leave the house? Do I work out for 30 minutes? Yes. Do I go for this extra job? Do I get my nails done even though I'm broke? Like all the things that your mom, you talk yourself out of. You're like, I can't wait to tackle that one. That one's going to be a good one. All right, you guys, we're going to go head over to theirs. So check the link in the bio, wherever you're watching this from. It's scrolling across your screen. You can go to samandleah.com. That's another place that, Sam and Leah, Leah is Leah, and just go there, click on whatever you need. If you want group coaching, because I know a lot of you are trying to book consults with us, but we are booked out. So the group coaching, you get in there instantly. You have email access to the both of us. Mm-hmm. And then we meet twice.
To be with other people. That's like yesterday, our last session, they were so grateful that they had each other because they were going through the same stuff. Yeah. And then like one would say something and the other one's like, oh my God, I didn't think of that. The other one would say something and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I heard this today. So just having other people too, not even just us, like we facilitate and we help, but just being there with other people who are going through it too, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. All right, TikTok, you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll be back with making TikToks later. Everybody else over here, get over into the next chapter because that's where we're going to be in the next 10 minutes.